have to watch a clock. I don't even have to watch a clock. I don't even have to watch a clock.
Hello, welcome to the Bold Moves podcast. I am Mandy Bryce and I am the host. I am super excited to share my chat today with Nya Kam, who is the founder of Love Notes LLC. It's such an amazing business and her message is fantastic. So I really hope that you enjoy our chat and I hope that you send a love note to yourself soon. All right, without further ado, here is Nya and I chatting about love and life and being bold. All right, everyone, welcome to the Bold Moves podcast. I am with Nya Kam, who was introduced to me by PK Kersey from a few episodes ago. Super excited to chat with you, Nya. Welcome.
Hi, Mandy.
Thank you for taking the time to be on the show on a Saturday in New York for you, Saturday afternoon.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. You know what? We haven't really gotten the winter rush, but the weather feels good and I'm excited.
Awesome. Yesterday was the first official day of fall, so
yeah.
Brisk weather at all or just still warm?
No, it's still warm. Actually, today it's about 80 degrees on this Saturday. The sun is shining bright, so I'm not complaining. Our winters can become brutal. So you know what? If there's a delay, I'm all for it.
I am from the Midwest originally and remember so frequently thinking this might be one of the last nice days we have. And just really trying to take advantage of it. So I appreciate you taking a little time to spend inside chatting with me and not enjoying the beautiful weather.
No problem.
So, of course, you know that the podcast is called Bold Moves, and PK wouldn't have nominated you if you hadn't made some. So why don't you tell us a little bit about you, your story, and the bold moves you're making?
Okay, sure. So first, I do want to thank you, Mandy, and do also thank you, PK. My name is Nya, and the name of my candle line is called Love Notes. It's an aromatherapy line of scented soy candles, and as you mentioned, we are based out of Brooklyn, New York, and our mission is simply to just create the home or office environment for a place of love, success, and relaxation through our custom blended scents.
I love that. Do you have a background in aromatherapy?
I have always been, I would say, a lover of fragrances, flowers, and spices. You know, I've been a lover of candles, though. Candles just create the mood, be it if it's through romance, if it's through relaxation, or just to get you energized for your next action or your next activity. And keeping those two in mind, candle making for me is something that I wanted to get involved in. And voila, Love Notes.
I absolutely adore the name. And I like that you brought up romance and then other things too. I've never heard of candles for energizing. I always generally think of them, usually use them at night when it's dark. How does it work to be energized by a candle? How would one use them that way?
So that's a good question. I would say, well, there's a couple of things to consider. One of our most precious scents is really our sense of smell. It leads us to other actions. When you may not have, God forbid, your sense of sight, you depend on other senses. Mm-hmm. One, for me, it's the sense of smell. Mm-hmm. Bringing in energizing, there's certain scents like citrus, I would say lemon or orange. You may even have heard of pineapple. Those citrus scents, they really do evoke a certain energy as opposed to calming scents like lavender or calming scents such as bergamot. But citrus scents are known for being more of an energizing, awakening scent.
Awesome. So if you had one of your citrus scented candles, you would recommend maybe using it for an energy pick-me-up throughout the day or even in the morning while you're drinking your tea and reading the paper or whatever your morning routine is to kind of...
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, there's two candle scents that I've made, and they've been really a big seller. And I'm thinking maybe because the consumer out there really needs an energy boost, and the scents that the combination would be as I mentioned, the grapefruit, peach, and mango scent, our love note number 5. And, it's interesting. I had a student, she was studying to be a teacher. And she was like, you know what, Anaya, I just need something to create the environment for me to write these papers.
Sure.
And, I also at the same time too want to be relaxed at the same time too. What do you have? And I offered her the specific scent of more of the citrus line, and she understood. And I guess for some reason it worked for her.
That's a great point, because there's definitely different types of energizing, and some of them, if you're a student and you're writing late into the night, you don't want to necessarily drink a bunch of caffeine, but to have mental clarity and alertness and be able to, focus on what you're writing and then still be able to turn that off so you can go to bed at night.
Exactly.
Sounds like a great thing. So you mentioned that was love note number 5. How many different love notes do you have?
Oh, okay. So currently we have 7 fragrances. We have 7 love notes, and we're expanding as I am learning the wave and role of what aromatherapy does, in that it really does have a therapeutic, holistic way of treating. I'm developing the line. So currently we have about seven fragrances.
Okay, awesome. So I'm assuming, since you mentioned that, there is romance and then the different types of ways you would use them, that it's not just love notes in a traditional sense where it's to your lover, but, that you could share them with anyone. What are the kind of inspirations behind the name, and how your vision is for them to be gifted or used personally?
Okay. I was ready for this one. So
good.
So the name Love Notes was actually inspired from a long distance relationship that I was in.
Okay.
As you can imagine, long distance relationships can be a tad challenging. You don't have instant access to the person. You don't really get to, in your own way, be able to touch if they're so far. And our way of nurturing romance and staying connected, and of course showing love, were through handwritten love letters. We are in such a digitized society now where we have just basically accepted emojis and texting and emails to replace what I call the lost art form for handwriting and having handwriting notes. But, I think the bold move in which developing this line and taking from the experience that I had in this long distance relationship to create love in our experience were through putting the pen to paper for us.
I love that. So how long have you been in business?
So I've been in business for about 3 years. I started the line in 2013. And although we are on the ground floor, we're pretty much expanding. We do have a website, and we are in a couple of retailers. And thanks to you, Mandy, perhaps your listeners throughout the country will pick us up.
That's awesome. And I know that you were generous enough to offer a giveaway to a lucky listener. So if anyone's watching and wants to see us, let's see what they look like.
All right. So right here, up close in person, I don't know if you can see it, right here is love note number 8. Love note number 8 is our green tea scent. So speaking of energy, we all know that green tea does have the benefits of energizing, and we added a little bit of cinnamon, spice, and burnt orange. So your lucky listener will be able to hopefully get a sample.
Of the newest one, right?
Yes, of the newest one. Love note number 8.
Sounds perfect for fall too.
Thank you. It is perfect.
Cinnamon and burnt orange. I love that. That sounds like it would smell incredible.
It is. Thank you.
Yeah. So what made you decide that you're going to start making candles?
Oh, well, again, I've always been a lover of fragrances, but part of my routine at night would be to create the environment to just decompress.
Mm-hmm.
Candles always, for me, created that environment at home.
Yeah.
It's something about the flicker of the flame, or just actually lighting it and waiting for the aroma to permeate.
Mm-hmm.
It has a whole thing to it. And I just got wrapped up in it. I love it. And I said, you know what? I'm going to try making one of these babies.
Yeah.
I also, too, have, again, a lover of scent. So bringing those two together, I said, I can do this.
I love how Love Notes has sort of a return to old school. The candle is pretty old fashioned. I mean, obviously they still exist.
Yeah.
We don't rely on them as much. The handwritten love notes, it's kind of like a
Yeah,
return and a reprieve away from busy digital society. That's
for
fantastic.
sure.
So my next question might be a little bit more challenging. Um, Not sure if you know the answer, and for most people it evolves, but I'm wondering if you know your purpose, and if so, what that is.
Mm. I am still going through that journey and finding out what my purpose is. First and foremost, I think with Love Notes, I've had a lot of great feedback from it,
Mhm.
and it has really done the job in creating the environment for people who choose to use whatever they need that environment for them. But being able to create something and offer something to the public that is useful, I think has been a step in the direction for me in showing love. And that is purposeful for me. So I'm still learning it, Mandy. Check me out in like the next 5-6 years. Perhaps I'll have a tighter answer. But so far, I think without this, I wouldn't have been able to meet you. And, we're still getting there.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've done over 50 interviews, and the people's responses to that are always a wide spectrum. There's been from I don't know to something very specific. And sometimes people just give a really general answer and feel very comforted by the fact that they're not nailed down. But, helping people feel loved, helping people create an environment, giving back, sharing love with other people
Right.
is a general way to say it, but you can do so many different things and still stay within that purpose and know that you're on the right path going that way. So don't feel
Totally.
pressured by the question. It's just always interesting to me to see what kind of guides people on their journey. So that's why I asked.
Okay, I'm gonna say all the above of what you just said.
That works.
So I'm glad it's a match.
No problem. All right. So next question is, I'm wondering what the scariest thing you've ever done is.
Hmm. Oh my goodness. The scariest thing that, oh, you know, I'm not a fan of scary movies, roller coasters, anything that's thrilling. Oh my goodness.
You're like, I
You
make
know,
candles. I like to relax and sleep my candles and write love notes.
exactly. I think the scariest thing, I would have to think about that,
It,
Mandy.
it doesn't have
I,
to be like a thrilling, like horror scary. It could be just like a bold move that you've made that, was hard to do, or anything that you kind of felt fear before you did it.
I would say the scariest thing for me would be, and it still is kind of scary, it's being able to say, I am now going to leave my job and
Yeah.
facing that. And I desire to do that.
Hmm.
I don't think I'm quite ready for that, for some fears that I'm trying to push through and making sure certain things are lined up for me personally. But I would say facing that question, when that question is proposed to me, okay, Nya, we love love notes. When are you leaving? When are you leaving your job? And how do you feel about not staying there? When are you going to decide making that decision? That for me is scary.
Okay, so the scariest thing you have ever done is still in front of you.
Correct.
I love that. That's a different answer than I've gotten, but I think it's so cool because I think a lot of people will be able to identify it. Like my target audience is people who are potentially making a bold move to inspire them, but you're like on the ground with them. So what is your day job?
So right now I am an account manager for an accessories line in the wholesale district in Manhattan. I do have experience 10 years in the fashion industry as one of the account executives. And as you know, the retail business is kind of on the decline with with what's going on now with online. So, me making that bold move is making that decision. And that's my experience.
Okay, very cool. So what are the different things you're using to guide yourself and to help yourself maybe push past that fear or, to face it head on right now? How are you looking at it? What are you doing?
There's a couple of things. I find that in the community of entrepreneurship, the people that I'm in contact with who may have a similar line or just a similar business acumen, they're pretty supportive. So for me, it's really surrounding myself with people who are supportive and understand that this whole team and world of entrepreneurship takes other people to be just as supportive and understanding as us. So for me, first thing is surrounding myself with like-minded individuals as themselves. The other thing is telling my story and being comfortable with telling my story and making sure that I am visible. There's power in that for me.
Sure.
And thirdly, love notes, scented soy candles would not be love notes without an actual affirmation of love to myself. So I find myself actually handwriting love notes to me at times and letting that resonate through to persevere and to continue and move forward.
That's such a great idea to write handwritten love notes to yourself.
Absolutely. You should. Everyone should.
That's a great tip. I love that. Really, I mean, what is it? I think it's RuPaul that always says, like, if you don't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love anyone else?
It's true. It's true. I want to just go a little bit and just give you a little experience. For me, there's power in words. It's not me trying to sound profound or anything. I mean, we pretty much read XYZ material from other authors and great speakers. But then what are we doing with it? We have already the information. We already know what to do. We don't necessarily need to hear another Deepak Chopra, if you will. We have it. So why don't we take a minute, write it down for ourselves and let those words look right back at us. And there's power in that. And I'm now becoming a firm believer that, you know what, I have the power too, if I could just take the time and write it down and let it face me.
So yeah, I've gotten to the write it down part. I just need to follow what I am writing down and put it into action because I guess I've seen myself be almost a junkie of personal development where I'll buy every course, I will read every book, I'll listen to every podcast, go on every webinar. And at some point I'm like, I will listen to a webinar or a speaker and think, well, I already knew almost all of that. And it's like, I've consumed so much. Now it's just, I have to put it into action and really trust myself that, okay, you have read enough for a while. Like, not to say that I'm ever going to stop reading or learning, but there's a point where I need to stop the consumption and start actually using it, what I've learned.
It's true. And you have it, Mandy. I think we all have it, even from, when our parents would guide us, we have it. So, putting it into action, you can do that or maybe just put it in a form of a note to yourself. And I'm not talking about a to-do list,
They're different.
to check off, right, your own affirmation.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I love that you said I'm not talking about a to-do list, because if you think about it towards somebody else, if you're in a relationship and you gave someone a to-do list versus if you're in a relationship and you gave someone an actual love note, the response is obviously going to be different, but we deserve that for ourselves too. So
For
that's a good
sure.
point.
For sure. I have them stuck on my refrigerator at home, on top of my mirror, even if it's just something silly and saying, hey, I'm giddy today and it's okay.
I love that.
It's fine. It's fine.
You have your citrus candle and you're in a good mood.
Exactly. You got it.
Perfect. So I know I just said that I read more books than I need to and need to just trust myself, but I'm curious what book recommendations you might have.
Oh, okay. So I have two.
Okay.
Really easy reads, really great reads. One is The Power of No by James Altucher, and the other one is The Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes. So if anyone can just remember The Power of No and The Year of Yes, I was inspired by both of those books, and I've read The Power of No maybe about 3 or 4 times.
Okay.
And with 2 easy words, there's strength in both of them if used appropriately.
Okay.
And subconsciously, we don't necessarily use those words appropriately to get to the destination that we need to. But this book really kind of gives you a little bit of a hand holding of what to consider when using them.
Interesting. Now, from what I've heard about both concepts, I guess, it almost sounds like they would be contradictory. Do you think
Right.
that's the case, or?
Yeah, you know what? Actually, I thought so too when I read Shonda Rhimes' The Year of Yes. I was like, oh my God, I just got finishing The Power of No. Now someone's going to tell me to say yes. Which one is it? So The Power of No, it establishes where making a decision of what to say no to create and to protect ourselves.
Mhm.
Sometimes we have to use the word no to certain relationships, to no to certain conversations, no to certain things that could be abusive to us, health wise,
Mhm.
to get to that yes. And the year of yes is, without a doubt, basically saying yes to opportunities despite fear,
Okay.
and being conscious of that to get to your destiny. So while they are both 2 opposites from each other, I think they kind of fell in line, saying the no to get to the yes.
I love that. I think that's sounds like it would be such a simple thing, but I bet it's a lot more complicated and you have to pay a lot closer attention to little decisions.
Right, right. You have to be a little bit more aware. Again, they're easy words, and subconsciously we use them, not realizing what we're saying no to. Or what we're saying yes to. It could be, saying, yeah, I'm just going to hang out with the girls and have a drink. But you have a final tomorrow. Maybe
Right.
you should be saying no in that instant. Through Shonda's experience in the book, she talks a little bit about her weight gaining and her, saying no to certain opportunities on like Jimmy Fallon. And because of her weight, she wasn't really that comfortable until she
Mhm.
said, yes, I'm a mega house, I'm a powerhouse,
Yeah.
damn right, I'm going to go on that Jimmy Fallon, regardless of, what my size is. So,
Sure.
she made sure she was saying yes to the right opportunities despite fear.
Awesome. I definitely plan to check those out once I've stopped my fast of personal development books. They
Okay.
sound fantastic. So these could be from things that you've read or things you've experienced, but I'm wondering if you have any life lessons that you've learned or advice that you could share to the listeners or viewers. It could be on
The
anything.
the advice that I would mention to your listeners or viewers would be to, your environment is essential. treat it like a sacred space. And it doesn't necessarily have to be accomplished tomorrow, but work on it. As we're being conscious of what we're putting on our hair, what we're putting on our skin, what we're eating, be also conscious of what we're putting in our environment, be it if it's people, be it if it's getting a new fragrance, or if it's just minimizing. Be a little bit more in tune to your environment. That would be my advice, because it really will create success, love, and relaxation.
So on that note, I'm curious what your thoughts are on the whole decluttering, the Marie Kondo. Have you heard of that or read that?
I don't know if I've read or heard that one, but I will check it out. Thank you.
Okay.
I do know about cluttering and decluttering. I did watch an episode on minimalists. There were these two gentlemen, and how they had a movement on minimizing their space. Every item needed to have a sense of purpose.
Sure.
And while I'm working through that, developing love notes, candles, and I do have to take a minute and say, okay, do I need 4 or 5 cheers when it's just me? It can be a bit challenging, but there's something to take from it. And I'm working towards that too.
Yeah, the Marie Kondo method is like, as you're decluttering, you hold things and ask if it sparks joy or not. And then if it doesn't, you get rid of it. And so it's kind of an interesting method, and there are a lot of critiques on it, but a lot of people who swear by it. And some of it, to me as a Westerner, because I believe she's Japanese, some of it is kind of silly to me that, people think about. She writes like a pretty long section about socks and how, would your socks be happy balled up, or like paired and then balled, or no, your socks would prefer to be like folded nicely and lined up. And while I can see the value in easily grabbing nicely lined up socks, I don't know that my socks have emotions and care about how they're put in the drawer. But other parts of it seem to make sense.
Right. Well, no pun intended. I have cold feet, so at night I always need socks. So I feel like I don't have enough of them.
Sure.
But as you can imagine, New York City living, especially in Brooklyn, the housing space can be pretty tight, and it's very easy to clutter if you're not making sure that each amount of space is accounted for. But for me, there's a lot of decluttering that perhaps I need to work and do. And maybe, as you mentioned, I will probably have to say, okay, does this picture bring me joy? Or, does this, is this pen or sunglasses? Are they bringing me joy? So I'll work on it.
Excellent. All right, my last question for you is one of my favorites to ask anyone that I meet. If 8-year-old Nya had a crystal ball and could look in and see where you are today, on a scale of 1 to 11, how excited would 8-year-old you be to be where you are today?
I think 8-year-old Nya would be proud. Where she's coming along and turning into her own. It's still some work for me to get through and to get to, but she's getting there. So if 8-year-old was to look and say, oh, this is where you're at, well, how long and where have you been all along? I think that's what she would say.
Awesome. So where from 1 to 11 would you rate the excitement?
Oh, wow. Right now I'm at an 11.
Awesome.
Yesterday I was at a 10. I would say from a 1 to 11 on average, it has been a consistent 8.5.
Okay, I'll take it. I like the use of decimal points. Keeps it interesting. Well, I am excited to share one of your love notes with a lucky winner, and I am excited to check them out myself. So thank you so much for your time and for coming on and sharing your story.
No problem. Thank you, Mandy.
Absolutely. I hope you're feeling a little bit more in love after that chat. I know that's cheesy, but I couldn't help it. Anyway, one thing that I personally failed to do was to share or give Nya an opportunity to share her social media and website information. So make sure you go ahead and check the show notes at www.mandiem.com/episode 113 so that you can check out her social media pages, her website, maybe buy a couple love notes, send them to people who deserve them, make them happy, make somebody's day. Make sure you do that. You can also just find it by Love Notes LLC. That's the handle on social media, and her website as well. So I forgot to ask her that during the interview and didn't want to do her a disservice of not being able to be found and to do a little self-promotion with this. Now, of course, I would love it if you stay tuned for Friday. I have a challenge from Nya that I think you will enjoy. I also would love it if you subscribed, and that would make the staying tuned for Friday a lot easier because you'd automatically get an update when this episode comes out. I, of course, would also love it if you shared my podcast with your friends because I would love to inspire and motivate as many people as possible to live their best lives. Another way we can get more eyes and ears on this podcast is by leaving a review on iTunes so that iTunes suggests this podcast to more people. I would really, really appreciate that. I am always looking for more guests, so if you or someone you know would be an amazing guest for the Bold Moves podcast, please head over to www.mandiem.com/guest, GUEST, and fill out the form. For some reason, that's been a little funky on mobile phones, so if you don't mind doing it from an actual computer, that would be helpful. Or send that link to someone who you think has made some bold moves that has an interesting story that I should share, because I would love to hear that. Nya and I met via PK Kersey, who was on a few weeks ago and keeps sending me amazing guests, which I super appreciate. Keep them coming, PK. And I would love to talk to maybe some of your friends or to you. So yeah, fill out the form or send that form along, please. Thank you very much. All right, as always, be bold and have a sparkly day. Bye-bye.